All right, welcome everybody to episode 8 of the RacPacShow. Fresh off a awesome divisional round weekend. We'll probably just start off with talking about the games. Talk about the first one was Titans. It was Titans Bengals, right?
Bengals Titans.
Our predictions were right. Wait, Nick, did you in your bracket? Nick, did you have the Titans or the Bengals?
Well,
he had the Raiders.
Originally.
Oh, yeah, you had the Raiders being the Bengals.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck is this guy?
Oh, you're disqualified.
All right, see ya.
Hey, Nick, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
oh, my God.
There we go. Good. Thanks for the shout out. So, yeah, pick the Raiders, but
they lost.
They lost, so that takes the Bengals out.
Yeah, so you're out. All right.
So it kind of screws me over. So, I mean.
Yeah, so, me, Ryan, Chad all took the upset. It was Ryan's lock, Bengals money line. Joey with the W. Evan McMoney, whatever they call him. That guy's fucking awesome. He's
Rookie, right?
Him and Joe Burrow are like.
Did you hear what he said or whatever?
To Burrow?
Yeah. He's like, to the bench. He's like, we're going to the championship.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to the AFC Championship game. Yeah, that's funny.
Balls of steel.
But, I mean, man, I'd give props to Joe Burrow, man. Sacked 9 times, still won the game. That's fucking nuts. I mean, that's what I thought was going to happen. Like, I thought he was going to have trouble because I know their offensive line isn't great. But, man, I guess Tennessee were frauds like everyone thought. Chad was kind of right.
I think you kind of just like, with that game, you can see that the Titans have a bad offensive standpoint. I mean, Derrick Henry, obviously, Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. Like, he's a stud. He's going to score.
Yeah, but you were right by saying
Tannehill,
that, like, he was rusty. He was rusty, Derrick Henry.
No, he was. It's a different flow. Like, yeah, his body was healthy. He's better than he was ever,
That was kind of
which is what he said, and he said it too. But it's just different taking game reps compared to practice and not being on the field for 2.5 months.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder, like, how was his foot? Like, how healthy was it? But it was.
He didn't look bad. He just, like I said,
but like that was too with like
was off.
Like, yeah,
like if he played next week, I'm sure he'd probably be.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the Bengals were missing one of their better run stoppers too, and I think he had like 20-something carries for like 60-something yards. He had some okay carries, but he didn't have like. It seems like every Derrick Henry game, like he like wears the defense down, and then he breaks that long one. Every game he'll get that long one, and that just didn't happen for him this game. I think the Bengals defense like deserves a lot of props. Like, I think people kind of sleep on them, and like, but. I'm not saying Tennessee's a great offense, but shit, I mean, you forced Ryan Tannehill to 3 picks. They managed to keep themselves in the game, even though Burrow was running for his life. That looked like Patrick Mahomes in last year's Super Bowl. Like, every play, that guy's snapping the ball, he's immediately running for his life. So, I think
that's also like with the Bengals, like Burrow's used to it, like because the whole season he's been sacked so much.
Yeah, he's one of the higher sack quarterbacks.
But it's like, dude, you gotta protect the fucking quarterback.
Yeah, that's your future right there.
God.
He was under heavy fire.
And it looked like he almost got hurt a couple times. Like, he came up limping.
Yeah,
a couple times.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's coming off the torn ACL last year.
Everyone's holding their breath.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
I don't know, like Tannehill. I think my dad was saying something like he's got a 70% completion rate or whatever. It's like, I don't fucking matter.
Yeah,
it's kind of easy. Like, any quarterback with Derrick Henry in the backfield can fucking get a 70% completion rate.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he has like the best possible scenario if you're Ryan Tannehill, who's like an average middle of the pack quarterback. He's got incredible receivers. Granted, they can't stay healthy, but AJ Brown and Julio are great receivers. You have Derrick Henry, who's like, if not the best, second best running back in the league. Obviously, he was injured, but he's not usually injured. They have a good offensive line. Like, they have good tight ends, too. Like, they are good red zone targets. And, I mean, the first play of the game, he threw a pick, and he threw it right to the guy.
Well, let's put it this way. First play of the game, first play of the second half, and the last play of the game. He threw 3 picks in all those scenarios. That's crazy.
Yeah, that just gave Cincy the boost right there, especially the
Yeah,
first.
I mean,
pick.
but
My God, give them the momentum.
Yeah, and I mean, Burrow had a
Crazy
pick in
game.
that. Burrow was like, I forgot what the stat was. It was like the last 5 weeks, he was like 13 TDs, no picks. It was something like that. He threw a pick, but that was another one that like wasn't his fault. I think he got like tipped, and then like
yeah, that was the one
it
that
was,
reviewed.
and
off
he
the
like
ground or
he
whatever.
barely caught it off the ground. So, it was a good game though. I just man, it shows
It
you
was a
how
better
important having a
defensive
good
game.
kicker is too, man. Like
It was definitely a better defensive game, not just because of the sacks, but it just in the picks. I mean,
as
4
good as like
picks,
that, we'll get to it
10
later,
plus
but
sacks.
as good as that Chiefs game was, like we'll get to that later, but like man, I mean Butker missed 2, an extra point, and I know one was like a 50+ yarder, so it's not like those are automatics. But I mean extra points, there's no excuse to miss those. And I saw a thing, it's like AFC North has like the best kickers. They got McPherson, Tucker, Boswell, and I don't know who the Browns kicker is, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I thought it was a great game. All of them were. Walk-off field goal for the underdogs.
I mean, speaking of kicking, that could get us into the next game with.
Oh, little
See you
hiccup
later,
with
Chad.
Chad. We'll get him back. But yeah, we can start talking about the next game. Welcome back. We'll get into the next game. It was Niners visiting the frozen tundra. Chad, whenever you're ready, you could just jump in. But it was kind of an ugly, boring game for a while. Like, it was still a good game in terms of like it was a close game, but like can't hear you by the way right now. While he's working that out, now we can. Rodgers was, you marched right down the field, right, in the beginning of the game. Put up 6, and like, right there, I'm like, this could get ugly, right? But it's kind of like it was just like back and forth. I mean, next drive too, they were driving, and then Mercedes Lewis fumbled. And then after that, it was just like. It was like they not gave up, but like they were just like trying to survive. Like a lot of 3 and outs.
I mean,
What I missed, just the beginning of it.
We were talking. All they needed was
jumped into it.
They had all game to score just one more touchdown, and they couldn't do it.
Well, obviously that first half.
I mean, it's or something, like something like a field goal, whatever.
Well, I don't think the Packers really looked like the Packers.
No,
like, where are these? Where were the quick passes up in the middle that they're used to with Lazard and Lewis and stuff? You didn't see that shit. Where's Cobb?
That's when you give credit to San Francisco's D.
Yeah, to
but
an
it's
extent.
Like they didn't even attempt them.
But like this
that was just shitty play calling.
Here's the thing. I mean, Dak got you 14 against that defense, or 17, whatever he got. I mean, I've defended Aaron Rodgers in terms of like, there's been the argument where like, oh, if he had as good a defense as Brady, he had to have a lot of championships too. But like, I get the special teams let him down, right? I get like the block kick, I get the block punt for a touchdown, and like that was kind of the deciding factor. However, if you're the MVP of the league, well, assuming 40 touchdowns to 4 picks, I think he had, you can't. 10 points is just not enough. Block kicks are not. Like, at the end of the day, like, they showed, that bomb he threw to Devontae Adams when he was double covered and it was just incomplete. Allen Lazard was wide open in the middle of the field. Wide open. Like, for like, yeah. And I think it was like 18 or 20 of his completions were either to running backs or Devontae Adams. And like, I don't know what it is about the play. He's like afraid to throw interceptions. And I think it limits him. Like, you look at, like, Brady will throw picks. Stafford throws picks. Mahomes will throw picks. Allen throws picks because they're not afraid to take risks. Burrow, and I'm not saying, like, oh, yeah, I want you to throw picks. Obviously, nobody wants to throw a pick. But, like, if it's affecting the way you're playing the game to the point where you're just taking every safe outlet and, I don't know. I mean, the defense played lights out. They let up 2 field goals. I mean, the block kick. The block punt wasn't their fault. That's special teams, but I mean, I don't know. It's
the weather played in a factor as well, second half. So for both teams, obviously.
That's true, but at the same time, it's like, this is nothing new. Like they knew that's been like a thing for the Packers. Like that's always like when people are going to Lambeau, people always think it's a great home field advantage of the playoffs because it's cold. And Rodgers they showed that his cold weather stats were great. And this is the first time I know Garoppolo's from right around here, Arlington Heights, but it's the first NFL game he's played in below 0 temperatures or whatever. I don't know.
He didn't look that good either, though.
No, he didn't. Like I said, the defense played lights out. However, no one was expecting Garoppolo to go off or have a great game or anything like that. But I'm sorry. Like, I've defended Aaron Rodgers. I like Aaron Rodgers. This is probably one of the biggest losses, to hurt his legacy. There, I don't know how you. I get the special teams thing, but man, you got to get more than 10 points.
No, I agree. He did. There is a lot more that he should have done and could have done probably, but I don't know what the play calling was. I don't know if the whole AJ Dillon injury came into effect and that hurts how the play calling was, but it's like, first off, why is AJ Dillon on a fucking return team? And second, why, I don't know. I just, like I said, I don't get why they changed their play calling from before. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, I'm not in the coach's shoes and stuff, but it's like
the Niners have a good
look like shit.
Yeah, the Niners have a good pass rush.
Man. They just find a way to win.
They do, and they have a good pass rush.
Shanahan,
And what I had said this when we were originally going over our brackets. I'm like, San Francisco is not a good matchup for Green Bay, but it was because San Francisco is good at running the football, and the Packers defense is not good at defending it. So the way I looked at it, I'm like, if the Packers lose this game, my thought process was it'll be because San Francisco kept running the ball, the defense couldn't get off the field, and Aaron Rodgers would spend the whole game on the sidelines. But that wasn't the case. Defense was playing great, but the offense, and the offense did nothing. And San Francisco does have a very good pass rush, but their secondary is not very good. So I'll give him this.
I get what you mean with the whole Rodgers thing, but it's also like, dude, the Packers lost from a non-offensive touchdown.
Yeah, and the thing is,
though, did not score a touchdown, and they won the game.
I've noticed it, and it's been a stat throughout the year. Their special teams all year has been horrible, all year, and obviously it came back to bite them. And I don't know. I think that's an indictment on the coaches. I think how hard is it to get your special teams in order? That should be the easiest thing for you guys to do. I'm assuming. I'm not in an NFL, front office or coaching staff, but I think that's an indictment on not only the head coach, LaFleur. I think it's an indictment on your special teams coach, and I think he needs to go because that was a problem all year long. It wasn't like they were good all year and then blew it in this game. They were terrible all year, special teams.
Yeah.
And then now after that, we got to look at in my opinion, I think Aaron Rodgers might have played his last game in Green Bay. I don't know if he's coming back.
Packers got to make. They have to make moves because they're negative $66 million.
40 something.
They're
not quite the Saints.
They're gonna get rid of a decent amount of people. I saw DraftKings tweeted out DraftKings tweeted out earlier tonight that Aaron Rodgers was plus 350 to sign with the Steelers.
That's what everyone's saying.
Dude,
because
he would not look good in those colors, man.
Dude, they would be an instant.
So weird.
They would be an instant
I think.
I don't know about
Colts.
That would be lit as well.
Well, they need a receiver too.
Here's the thing, though. In my opinion,
Devontae.
If there's an NFC team he can go to, I think that's the play, and here's why. We don't know if Brady's coming back. I think he is, but we don't know. If you look at the AFC, you got Josh Allen, you got Mahomes, you got Herbert, you got Burrow, all these you got Lamar. The Ravens will be healthy next year. You got all these teams, and especially if you went to the Steelers, that's a tough division, man. And I think the Steelers are by far the best fit, in my opinion. I know I saw some stuff about Denver's a really good one too, because I think they're a quarterback away. Their defense is good. They got decent receivers, Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and they got two pretty good running backs. So I know that was a potential one, but there's options if he leaves. And he has a good relationship with Mike Tomlin as well, which I think is why a lot of people pick the Steelers. Great defense, good. Say what you want about their, social media stuff with Juju and Claypool and stuff, but they're talented. Deontay Johnson is really good. I think if he cleans up the drops, he's one of the better receivers in the league. So that'll be interesting. I know Aaron came out and said today that on the Pat McAfee show that his decision would kind of come sooner rather than later because he doesn't want it to drag past free agency because that would be unfair to the organization. So is he would have to get traded though, right? To leave? Am I right about that?
I don't know.
I think
I feel it, honestly, I think he stays in Green Bay, but that's just me. But
yeah, I mean, it's all talk.
Because especially if Devontae's getting franchise tagged, he wants to stay with Devontae.
I don't know.
I think him and Devontae are kind of like Brady and Gronk.
He is under contract. 2022 is the last year in his contract. Yeah, but here's the thing too, is like he said, I think he said right after I think he's gonna wait to see what the Packers do because they are in a bad cap spot. So I think this was the year to do it. To be honest with you, they were dominant all season. This was the year you kind of had to get it done, and they didn't. And I think that I don't think they're gonna be better than they were this year. Next year, I don't.
Well, yeah, Rodgers got interviewed and he said he didn't. They asked like, "Oh, what's your future?" He didn't give a yes or no, but he looked at like, "Okay, I don't want to be part of a rebuild."
All right. So, right, I mean, and I think that was a little. I think that was a little bit of an exaggeration. Like your team did just have the best record in football. I don't think you're immediately going to a rebuild.
Oh,
like
definitely not.
But and you know how Aaron Rodgers, is too. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a bit of a diva.
You would have to look at their payroll and see like
they are going to let
players are making what.
They're probably going to let go one of the Smith brothers because they're making
brothers on the team.
Yeah, Zadarius and
Preston. I don't know if they're brothers.
I just say that just because
it's nickname.
It's like so, but I think they'll get rid of him. One of them. I think they'll get rid of King 100%.
You got to look at
Troy seconds that one.
I think there's another.
Like I said, I would have to see their payroll and see like what people are getting paid.
Well, plus if they want to sign Adams, Adams is going to want a decent amount of money.
Oh my God!
Franchise tag him.
Yeah, okay, but here's the problem with that in terms of your cap. You by franchise tagging him, you have to give him top 5 money at his position, and I mean he's worth that anyway, obviously. But like,
but it's probably cheaper than what it would be to sign.
David Bakhtiari.
He takes up a lot.
He's the most. He's a He's a $22 million cap hit or dead cap, $39 million. He's a $22 million cap hit. Aaron Rodgers, and here's why they might trade him, especially if he wants out. It's a $46 million cap hit. That Rodgers alone would clear their debt, but they have to make
he drafted Jordan Love for a reason.
Yeah, and he didn't look good, but it's one game.
What he is though,
that's on them. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
I don't know.
But I mean, they've come out and said, we want Rodgers back. So the only way he leaves is if he wants to leave. So they're not going to cut ties with him just to cut ties with him. If he wants to go, that's the only way he'll go.
We won't. We won't. I feel like we won't find this out till probably, I'd say, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, into the off season. Into the off season for sure. He said he didn't. He wanted to make his decision. He didn't want to drag it out past free agency and stuff. So whenever that starts, probably right around there is probably when we'd find out. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to especially with what he said right after the game. You just got shocked. An emotional loss in a year you were one of the favorites to win it all. We've been there. Think about, any sports games you played and you lost. You might say shit after a game you don't mean or, emotional after the game.
For example.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. I mean, that was more of an anger thing, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you never
know. He stays with the Packers. That's my guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's that.
Have any guess?
I think he just says it, but there's that chance he retires as well. We'll see.
I know. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but there's a possibility where it could be. Obviously Big Ben's gone, but Brady and Rodgers retire this year. It's not. It is a possibility.
That kind of ends the era officially, right? There's none that I can think of left really out of that. Like, Big Ben, Rodgers, Breeze, Peyton Manning.
Eli Manning. Well,
and he's gone. I mean, but that's it.
gone.
I mean, Stafford,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know if you would consider him.
No. I don't
that'd be kind of it, right? I think that'd be.
Well, Stafford's been in the league for what?
He's been in the league for a long time.
No, we're talking about like the legends here. Sorry, Stafford.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, though. I think if Stafford was on a good team throughout his career, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean,
know I
Stafford
Eli
is kind
Manning,
of.
But... yeah. Oh, well, not really Russell Wilson. He was kind of a little bit after, but...
I think we...
anyways.
Yeah, they're gone.
Off topic. But we can go on to the Rams Buccaneers. Yeah, that was a while. It's such a cliche to say, and like I'd said, and it was kind of the method they won by. They got to Brady, right? Pressure on him. It was cliche to say, like, oh, the game's never over. And a lot of people thought that if they lost this game, it was going to be because of Stafford throwing picks. And I mean, shit, Stafford, had flashbacks to his Lion days of the team letting him down. I mean, they were up 20-3. Brady throws a pick. You were at the goal line and Akers fumbled. You probably go up at worst 23-3 there, and you're getting the ball. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I missed a lot of the second half of this game up until like the fourth quarter, but I know I saw the Cup fumble. I saw the Akers fumble, both of them. Yeah, I mean, man, Tom Brady, man, down 27-3.
You can't count him out.
No, you can't.
You count him out.
You can't.
And I think that comes back to the Rams, like that. I'm trying to think like the wording here, like because when they played against the Cardinals too, the second half they didn't play as good. Like they were just more relaxed. Like they didn't come out and play. And
that's a good point.
Dig a 6 foot hole for the other team. It's like keep taking it to them. Why are you letting up the gas, especially on Tom Brady?
That's a good point. You think about it too. Is so Sean McVay had that stat. It was like 45-0 and leading at halftime. You think about it. That last week of the year against the Niners, they were up 17-3, I think, maybe even better than that. Halftime, lost. That was the biggest lead and the first, while leading at halftime loss McVay's ever had in his career as the head coach there. So, I mean, that's a good point. They could be a little susceptible to getting, come back on, so to speak.
Well, what was it at half? It was like 27-3.
It was 20-3. It almost was 27. So Akers fumbled at the goal line.
2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then the Rams got the ball back at half. So that would have been it essentially could have been 35-3,
It's funny because I remember I was watching a game with my dad and it was a halftime. My dad was like, "Oh, dude, this game's over. Like, you're getting
same."
killed. I
stopped watching for a bit.
I told my dad, I'm like, "Dad, normally, yeah, but I was just chilling. I was just sitting there watching the game. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, this game's not over. I'm like, there's no way Brady gets killed in a playoff game. I'm like, there's no way. And then of course when they started coming back, I looked over at my dad and I'm like, what'd I fucking tell you? And,
dude, we saw, excuse me, we saw two of the best throws maybe we've seen all year was the Brady one to Evans. That was a dime. That was right on the money. Props to Mike Evans, beat Jalen Ramsey on that play. And then, man, as much shit as Stafford has gotten, no playoff wins, all that, he played with complete confidence. That last drive, he had 40 seconds and sacked on the first play to then go, hit Cup, and then again that throw to Cup was beautiful. That was a great throw. And man, props to Cooper Kupp. I think a lot of people still sleep on him. A lot of people don't think, he's better than some of these receivers. But, dude's always open. Always open, it seems. So, and I think another guy who deserves props is Odell. I know he's not getting the huge numbers like a number one receiver, but he's playing very well ever since he got to the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I was never, big fan of Stafford. I always thought that was overrated. I thought he was. Well, I still kind of do, but I will give it to him this game. He did He played great. Yeah, I mean, I can't say anything else. Wide open Cooper Kupp to finish out the Bucs. Cooper Kupp, he's something else. Not the best receiver in the league. I still think it's Devontae Adams. Belongs to
I
Devontae
agree.
Adams. But
want to explain a little bit about Stafford?
What's up?
Like your opinion on Stafford?
No, my opinion on Stafford. All right, so this is my theory on him. It's not really theory, but I always felt when he was on the Lions, a lot of his don't get me wrong, he was a talented quarterback. He does play well. I feel like a lot of his stats are garbage time stats, because the Lions are always playing behind, yes, but I guess they couldn't get the offense rolling until the end of the game while they're down by big. I feel like a lot of his stats are just with the Lions. I'm talking about are at the end of the game. Like that's all I can say. I mean, but because I'm talking about stats wise, people say, "Oh, Matthew Stafford's got this many touchdowns." Okay, well, let's take a step back here.
It's interesting though.
Everyone does it though.
It's interesting to see. So I think he's under contract with the Rams for 3 years. I think it's this year, next year, and the one after. It might just be this year and next year. But it's interesting to see that, the first time he gets on a good team, he's in the NFC Championship. He beat Tom Brady. He beat a talented Cardinals team. And I think he was, it could go two ways. MVP of that game. I think he was the MVP of that game. I think the only other place you could maybe put it is the defensive line. They played lights out, and I said it from the beginning. It's a bad matchup for Tampa Bay. The way to beat Tom Brady is it's been shown in this Giants Super Bowl, the first one especially. If you put pressure on him, that's how Denver beat him in the AFC Championship with Von Miller when he was in his prime in that defense. That's the way to beat him. When you put pressure on Brady, that's his kryptonite. That's for every quarterback. You look at Mahomes in last year's Super Bowl. Props to Joe Burrow, but I think for example, if Joe Burrow is sacked 9 times in this upcoming Chiefs game, they're going to get killed. I promise you that, because Ryan Tannehill is not quarterback in the other team.
And the Chiefs are loaded.
That's why I think, in my personal opinion, if I'm a GM, number 1 is obviously quarterback, no question. And 2 is protecting the quarterback. And 3 is pass rush. Because that is the way to beat good quarterbacks. When you're, you have, Josh Allen is probably the best at this. Mahomes is up there. You saw it in that game. Running around, making plays. But a guy like Tom Brady, a guy like Matt Stafford, who aren't as mobile, that's the way to beat them. That pass rush, you might not, force turnovers, but you could, you rush throws. Brady threw a couple picks, I think. He's getting hit a couple times. He's getting frustrated. Yeah. You saw him screaming at the ref. That's how it is.
Like that.
So I definitely, I thought the Rams' defensive line stepped up and played their job really well. I think Stafford, he couldn't have played more perfect, in my opinion. He, even when everything's crumbling around him, his teammates are fumbling the ball like crazy. He still gets under center with that in that last drive and just puts it on Kupp on one of the most gorgeous passes we've seen. So, props to them. I'm beating the reigning champs. That's really all I got to say about that game. Yeah.
My bad, boys. My shit
no, you're good. You're good. We're working with
Rodgers with the Packers. I'm back.
We're chilling. All right, last game. Incredible game.
Yeah.
Chiefs versus Bills.
Especially the last few minutes, especially.
Chiefs versus Bills. Definitely lived up to the hype and exceeded it. Either way, when the Bills scored that touchdown with 13 seconds left, I was like, even though I was rooting for the Chiefs, I had money on the Chiefs. I have them in my bracket. I'm like, that was an incredible game. But, Tyrann Mathieu, gets concussed or whatever, first Bills drive, which really hurt them. Their secondary was trash all night. But I mean, the Bills lost Tre'Davious White midway through the year to a torn ACL, and he's one of the best corners in football. So, injuries go both ways. I want to start out by saying no more Josh Allen slander for me. I've said I always kind of thought he was overrated and inconsistent, but excuse me, he was incredible in that game.
Well, he also showed up in the playoffs too, Josh Allen.
What'd you say, Nick?
No, we're not talking. Yeah, I'm just. Josh Allen showed up in the playoffs as a whole. I mean, it was 2 games, but we're taking out the regular season. Yeah, this Josh Allen.
I mean, yeah, they were talking about
during the playoffs showed up. So
he's throwing the most TDs in within 2 games, and he gets taken out of the playoffs in the first 2 games. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's on the defense, but it's how much more can you ask him to do within those 2 games,
going out there,
especially against the Chiefs?
He can't play defense, so Josh Allen is doing his thing. That's it. So,
at home, I mean, Bills on the road and Chiefs at home. Yeah. But yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Don't really want to talk about this game because I'm still.
It's still heartbroken. Hey, I'm right with you. I wanted the Bills. I mean, not necessarily. I'm not a Mahomes hater. I like Mahomes as a quarterback. Not that I like Allen more. I think it's just I wanted to see different teams pushing through, especially since Brady was out and Rodgers is out. It's kind of
listen,
I want a little more fresh blood, and it's that team is unreal.
I definitely see it, because I'm on the same boat, and I rooted for Brady in a lot of his Super Bowls, but last year I didn't, and so I get the whole Chiefs fatigue, Mahomes fatigue. I get that. And I'm on the opposite side, obviously if you were, I'm not a Chiefs fan, I'm a Mahomes fan, but if the Saints are there every year, I'm not tired of that. I'm a Saints fan. Of course I'd love that. And you guys with the Bears, whatever. But to the, average fan, I understand that. If you're not a fan of a team, even if you're indifferent about them, they don't really matter to you. If they're there every year, like Brady, like LeBron in basketball, I totally get the fatigue thing. But yeah,
it's also how can Mahomes scramble so much? I mean, I know he's quick and stuff.
Oh, he's doing circles out there, man.
But that's what I mean. You see any other quarterback do that, and there's flags all over the field from the offensive line holding, right?
Yeah,
you see Mahomes, and it's there's not a flag in sight. I get that he's got a great offensive line too, but it's
him and Allen are very very similar. And just to touch back on what you said about the touchdowns, so Josh Allen had 9 touchdowns through those first 2 games, and the most in a single postseason was in 2012. Well, 3-way tie between Montana, Kurt Warner, and Joe Flacco of all quarterbacks at 11. So he would have had, potentially 2 more games, and he's already at 9 touchdowns. Had, he won that game, and then AFC Championship, and then Super Bowl. But as much as you can say about, even if you hate Mahomes, you hate the Chiefs, you hate his wife, you hate his brother.
Yes.
Good reasons to hate him, but
you
gotta respect.
Or something.
I don't know if there was a single person on the planet who thought that game was still alive with 13 seconds left. I was like, this game's over. I'm like, 13 seconds. I'm
still 3 timeouts though, so it's.
Yeah, I know, but 13. I know they're down by 3, but
1 timeout, I
think.
That's where it comes back down to though. It's defenses in football play way too soft with the lead.
I agree.
That amount of time left. It's especially with them saying, "Oh, the Bills were the best 2-minute defense drill, when they're winning, whatever." Well, how do you give up whatever amount of yards, 60, 70 yards against? You're playing you're not even playing against people.
I think
you're not man to man against anyone because you don't want to get beat. I get that, but it's you're giving these guys 30-yard receptions and you're not even getting touched.
I think the way they played, especially when you're versing a team that has 1 Patrick Mahomes and 2 Tyreek Hill, if you're gonna let right off the bat Tyreek Hill's catching the ball 6 yards past the line of scrimmage, and now his speed, he just showed it to you last drive. You're gonna let him have blockers in front of him, and he gains 20 yards, timeout, right? Kelsey, they ran the same play. He saw a break in their coverage, took advantage. Props to him. I saw they had like a in-game mic on him, and there's a clip of it today of him telling them they left the seam open after the first play, and that's what he did right up the seam. He hit him, but I got to give props to Mahomes, man. 13 seconds left, and you're down by 3, and you win the game.
I can't even give him that because it's not even him. That's the receivers doing the work. Like, this comes back to, like, I heard him say, like, the whole, like, MVPs, are always going to be quarterbacks kind of thing because, they do majority of the work on offense and stuff. It's like,
well,
to an extent,
Kelsey
to an extent,
like Hill's running circles around people.
The first drive,
touchdowns out of it, and Mahomes gets the credit.
Okay, but the first drive of the game, Mahomes is running all over the defense, and he single-handedly scored a touchdown.
I do get that, but I'm saying with the 13 seconds left, what your argument was.
Okay, but
I don't give that to Mahomes because he just makes a simple throw
to Tyreek Hill. I'll give you, but if you watch it back and you watch that throw to Kelsey, that was not a wide open Kelsey. That was a pretty tight window. 2 defenders were bracketing him, and he got it right in there in the seam. So I will give him props for that throw. And then, to be honest,
quarterbacks should make that throw when they're getting paid.
Yeah, okay, but how many quarterbacks don't make that throw?
That was a different route than what Kelsey did.
Well, they had talked about it because they in the
I saw the whole backyard football.
He said, "Do it, Kelsey. Do it, Kelsey." In the thing, but they both had, I think, rushing stats are very similar. They both ran for like 68 and 69 yards. And the one thing I will say, man, Allen is a hell of a runner in terms of quarterback. However, if he continues to do this, I get he could do it, the trucking people. After a while, he's gonna hurt himself. You saw the Tampa Bay game, especially.
He's a big boy, though, too.
Yeah, but the Tampa Bay game, especially that overtime game, he was in a knee brace after the game because he's running everywhere and trucking people. I get it. In a postseason game like that is different, but in terms of regular season, I think you got to start sliding and shit. Otherwise, you're gonna risk injury. But
what were they kind of saying to Burrow when the season started? He's like, you need to just learn how to go down or whatever.
Right.
Didn't Rodgers say that to him or something?
Yeah. You got to work on sliding. That's why you see guys like Kyler and Russell Wilson who come from baseball. Their sliding is really good. But
going back to what you guys are saying about the teams, different teams in the playoffs. I love NFL playoffs. Don't get me wrong. Especially this past weekend, one of the best best playoff football in a while. But that's why I personally love hockey playoffs even better. Hockey playoffs are my favorite, and then even baseball playoffs because every year in hockey and NHL and MLB, you always see normally you see teams that are new teams that are in the playoffs, and even in the World Series or the Stanley Cup, there's always a new team.
Except the Dodgers, who are in there 3 years in a row.
So that's why, I'm kind of sick of football, and it's the same thing with. Don't even get me started on basketball because basketball is ridiculous. It's
the one thing I will say about basketball is it's getting a little bit better now.
But it's just that's with football, and that's how it was, and we dealt with that for the past decade with the Patriots, and now I got a feeling it's going to happen the same shit with the Chiefs. So it's I'm not hating on the Chiefs because of that. I get it. If I was a Bears fan, like you said, I would want that to be my team. But at the end of the day, it's just I don't know. That's why I root against them not because I hate them, because I don't want to see them in there. I want to see other teams.
No, it's why people it's typical with any sport. If you don't really like a player, on the team, for example, Brady comes to mind. How many people were so oh my God, Patriots again? This is the same way. The one reason I don't know if the Chiefs will be able to do it, I know this is their 4th straight AFC Championship, but the reason I think they might be at the tail end of this, and Mahomes' contract, they backloaded it, so they have a lot of more cap space the first couple years of it, to go after championships and stuff like that. But as it goes on, their cap space is not going to be. They're not going to be able to keep all these guys. So, the one thing too I will say is that, Like, there's a lot of talent in the AFC now, young talent. You look at the Bengals. No one saw them going anywhere this year. They're in the AFC Championship. They're only going to get better. Burrow's still on his rookie deal. You could play with that. You could make you could do stuff with that. Josh Allen is not going anywhere. There's a lot of talent, so I don't know if necessarily, like, obviously, if you look at Brady, there was a decade where he didn't make it to a Super Bowl. So the one thing I will say, though, is the whole, like, I get hating on Mahomes and, like, not wanting him to be there, but people saying, like, in the year, like, he lost it, I just thought was silliness. Like, he went through the first slump of his career and people thought, like, all these quarterbacks are better than him. I just thought that was stupid. But
I look at it like this, like, obviously, like, I love dynasties. We hear, like, seeing dynasties and stuff, whether it's my team or not. I just admire it. It's like something that we all get to witness. So I mean, yeah, like, we could have our opinions too. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it. Like, I like it. It's if to see, it sucks. I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm a Bears fan. Like, okay, like, if the Bears are not there, like, I don't care. If the Bears are there, yeah. I mean, if it's not my two teams, like, if one of those teams are a dynasty team, it's like, whatever, so be it. I only care if the Bears are there. Then I would want the Bears to wipe the floor on whoever that dynasty team is. But
for me, I don't have, like, I have my team in every sport, and then I'm usually a fan of certain players across sports. In baseball, that's Mike Trout, Ronald Acuna. I'm a Cubs fan, but I root for those guys as well. But yeah, I get it. And then I know Ryan wanted to talk about the overtime rules. So if you could change overtime rules, Ryan, you get to change them, right? What would you change them to be?
I don't know. Not college rule, because then the game would be. It'd be.
I
over.
think
Like
with football,
points.
It's easier with just doing like a straight up 15-minute quarter.
Okay, but what if you're tied at the end of that?
Or even like a 5-minute quarter or a 10-minute quarter. But then here's the thing: it's like you could kick a field goal in overtime, and okay, they get a ball back. But score a touchdown, game's over. Now, yet again, it's decided by a coin toss, which I think it's fucking stupid. But yet again, you can argue both ways. Yes, the defense has to stop them, but at the same time, it's not Josh Allen or, for just example, Josh Allen's fault that the defense is ass. So it's like,
well, here's the thing.
Just sitting there.
Here's the thing I will say as a counter. One, I know you said one stat or thing I saw was like, oh, they should just have it, until one person, like, if they keep going back on touchdowns, they keep going back. But like you said, like, imagine they were going back and forth, scoring touchdowns for 20 minutes, like 20 game minutes, just scoring back and forth. Because that's how the end of the fourth quarter was. That's how it was. Now you're asking whoever comes out of that game to play, the Bengals, who already have a day of rest on you, and you just played basically a game and a half. So I think that one's stupid. I think the, like, never-ending shit, like, the ability of that. And I do think, it is on the defense to make a stop. If you look at every metric that there was in the football this year, the Bills were the number one defense in the NFL. Points allowed, number one. So I'm not saying it's Josh Allen's fault by any means. That dude did everything he could. Last time he touched the field, he put the team up by 3 with 13 seconds left on the clock. But, I do think the defense has to make a stop. Like, I just...
Something I would do is I would throw the ball at, like, let's say the 30 to 25 yard line, and you have to score a touchdown.
Like, from the red zone, you're saying? Like, you start in the red zone?
Maybe, yeah. If anything, a little bit more farther back. But you have to score a touchdown. If it's fourth down, you can't kick a field goal. You have to score a touchdown.
So do you have, in your scenario, so let's say we start at the 20, right? The red zone.
Okay.
Can you get a first down or no?
No first downs. You have to score a touchdown. If it's
in 4 plays.
4 plays. If it's fourth down, they'll be, oh, let's kick the field. No field goal. You have to score a touchdown, and you just keep going until someone scores a touchdown. Because if you kick a field goal, like, it's kind of like now, it defeats the purpose. Now the other team gets the ball, and then they kick a field goal, and now you look. It's kind of like the Raiders and
I don't know,
Chargers game. That game almost ended a tie. So at the end of the day, at least for now, if obviously OT rules are never going to change, but if you're going to change in one game, I say you do that to the Super Bowl. Because imagine in the Super Bowl, let's say the Chiefs and Bills, let's say that hypothetically that was a Super Bowl. that would be dumb. I feel like so. If anything, if you're gonna change OT rules, I feel like it should be in Super Bowl because it's do or die. It's all for all the marbles.
Yeah.
But as far as OT rules are never gonna change. Let's just be real. So, but
I think it's tough. I think it's tough to change them. Like, I get what you're saying, but that red zone thing also goes to the point of like they could be playing for a while. Like that's the same thing as like going back and forth. But
at the end of the day, it's playoffs. So I mean, you can always just establish that for the playoffs. Regular season, you can maybe not do it. But
no, because regular season they already ended in a tie if it's tied in regulation. But like what I'm saying is like, even if you do that in playoffs, so they're playing the Bengals. Whichever team came out of that game is playing the Bengals. The Bengals played Saturday, right? So they're already resting Sunday. So now, if you're doing that red zone thing, you're basically, if it keeps going, you're playing a game and a half like that. Like football takes a toll, a physical toll. Injuries could happen. Like, and then then you have to play a game against a team that didn't have to go through that, which I think is unfair. So I get the OT rules aren't perfect, but I don't know. I do think the defense has to make a stop. Like, I get it.
I think that argument is kind of invalid with the whole, Bengals played the day before, so they got an extra day of rest kind of thing. Because it's like they're professional athletes in tip-top shape, besides, linemen or whatever, because they're bigger guys. But they also have all these medical and therapists and, trainers and all this other stuff that they spend so much money on. You're telling me they can't get back in shape within a few days and then have the rest of the week?
I think you're
figure it out or whatever.
I think you're underestimating that how hard. Like, it's not even necessarily the fact of like how battered and like tired they are. Just the fact of like you're already to the point where you're tired, right? You're at the end of the game. Like, especially defenses get tired, but like you risk injury. Like you risk injury too.
What about like
how do hockey players play fucking back to back?
Because hockey players are made of different material than the rest of us.
I was just gonna say that because like in OT,
professional athletes,
and like in playoffs, at least for hockey OT, it's like we've been there for the Hawks. 4 OTs, like they go back to back, and then like sometimes they have a game the next day, the next night. So it's like, it's like
the difference with that is though, it's a series, and you're playing the same team who also just went through that.
Yeah, and at the same time, but this is for all the marbles too. Like, this is playoffs. Like, you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, if you're gonna be tired for next week, or less, if they have an advantage of you of rest, that's so be it. You gotta do what you gotta do. But I don't know. At the end of the day,
and listen,
something
in the Chiefs'
defense, that's the NFL's problem for scheduling games on a Saturday. Put all the games on the same day.
In the Chiefs' defense as well, they got screwed by this rule in 2018 versus the Patriots, and they proposed to change the overtime rules. One overtime rule I had heard of was that the road team should always get to pick in overtime. And it'd be interesting too. Here's another one. I think this is the one the Chiefs proposed. The overtime coin toss happens before the game, because then you could play differently in regulation. Like, if you're the Bills, say you're the Bills, right? You score that touchdown, you go up by 2 before the extra point, right? You go up by 2. And the Chiefs are getting the ball if this goes to overtime. Does that change how you play? Do you go for 2?
I would have went for 2.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It changes how you play. That's the one I think makes the most sense. I think you do the overtime coin toss before the game, because then you can play. It changes how you play. I guarantee you, if the Bills are up by 3 with 13 seconds left, how they were right there, and they know the Chiefs are getting the ball in overtime, they're not playing as soft as they did. There's no way.
Well, first off, they should have squibbed the kick on the kickoff. At least
I saw that too, but there's the thing is, like, most squib kicks only take like a second off the clock, and there was like 2 or 3 seconds left.
Well, he's got to return it unless he's going to knee it right where he gets the ball.
You can. If you give yourself up, the play's over. And
the
clock.
Now you're looking at the ball at, like, 10 maybe.
It depends. Like, squib kicks are not like automatic.
Well, that or just a high kick.
The thing, you could fair catch high kicks too, so no time comes off the clock. And you never know. I mean, you saw fucking the Tampa Bay kicker kick the ball out of bounds twice, so that could happen too. You never know. And the clock doesn't start on kickoffs until someone touches the ball.
See, I look at it like this, like I, after the OT, I was like, I was in the heat of the moment, like, okay, I changed, overtime rules, like, I feel bad for Josh Allen, blah blah. But now I'm like, Yeah, Anthony, you did mention that the Chiefs a couple years, like 4 years ago, it happened. I honestly, I don't remember that. I forgot or whatever. Like, we're talking about this now. Like, how often does this happen? Like, we don't talk about this where like
And it
a
was
team.
Happens enough.
it was
Twice
similar.
in the past 4 years.
The
Then
Chiefs Patriots
yeah,
was
I mean,
similar
this is-
too because I think Mahomes got the ball with like this is his first year starting. He got the ball with like 30-something seconds left, brought his team into field position, they tied it. So like he was in the same position. Last time he touched the field, he took 30 seconds, tied the game. And, I do feel for Josh Allen. It's shitty. It's shitty to like the last time you were on the field, you threw a touchdown to put your team up by 3 with 13 seconds left, and you don't see the field again. You don't see the field again, and the next thing you're seeing is confetti falling down or whatever, the other team winning. It's I get that it's bullshit. And I think that's why I think my favorite one I heard was do the coin toss before
I still
overtime,
don't think that
before the
helps.
game.
I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. Teams will play differently, but I still think when it comes to OT, that both sides need to touch the ball, regardless.
Yeah, that's the one
major
part.
sport,
That's
any
the
other
one
major
part.
sport, you got to play offense and you got to play defense. In every other
baseball.
major sport, baseball, hockey, basketball, soccer, every other sport, you got to play. Both sides have to play in OT.
Right.
Then
I think
or the coin flip.
I think
at
going
least
back
for playoffs, at least for playoffs.
Yeah, I just think
my discussion.
I mean, we could leave it. Agree to disagree. I just think the defense at the end of the day should make a stop, and I feel like if you just go endlessly, like I know it's unlikely, but there's a chance the game goes on another 30 fucking minutes of in-game time, and that's just ridiculous for football. But we'll just leave it.
Won't be disappointed by that, but
I guess I know. But for time's sake, we'll just agree to disagree. And move on to this weekend's games.
Contest. Start from the 10 and move back every 5-10 yards.
First game this weekend is Chiefs are hosting the Bengals, 2 p.m. Central Time. A rematch. Last time the Chiefs kind of had the game in control, and then second half they scored 3 points. Bengals came back, ended up winning it, and that hurt the Chiefs, because had that not happened, Chiefs would have been the 1 seed. We probably would have seen this. We would have seen this game this past weekend, and we might be seeing a Chiefs-Bills AFC Championship had they won. So, I think this is going to be here. I think this has the potential to be a blowout, but I think it's going to be similar to the Bills game. But here's why I think the Chiefs are going to win, and I think they win handily, is one, experience. This is the 4th straight AFC Championship. I know the Bengals have just won 2 playoff games, but I think the Bengals are not as good as the Bills. The Bills had a much better defense by every stretch of the imagination. And I think if the Chiefs get Honey Badger back, it'll be huge for them. And I know he tweeted out today that something about he'll be ready or whatever. So, but I think this game could be a shootout, and I think that's how the Bengals have to win. I think this has to get to a shootout, and the Bengals have to get it to a scenario where it's like whoever gets the ball last wins type deal. But I think this does have the potential to get ugly, so we'll see.
Yeah, I got the Chiefs. I also got the Chiefs, but I'll tell you what: if the Bengals start off hot, I'd be nervous for the Chiefs. Like I know the Chiefs, like they have a capability of keeping up with teams.
Yeah, like you're saying,
but like they had.
If they get to a point where it seems like the Bengals, like they can't stop them, you're saying?
Yeah, like I know finish strong, but the Bengals, their key is to start fast and strong. I mean, they did against Tennessee. Tennessee's obviously not as good as the Chiefs, but they had the pick on Tannehill the first play. Granted, I think they kicked the field goal, Bengals, but still that gives them momentum. So I got the Chiefs, but if somehow the Bengals could find a way to attack, like start off 10-0, 14-0, the Chiefs are in trouble. But I think if the Chiefs don't let that happen, it's Chiefs are going to control the game, which I could see. But man, Jamar Chase last week, man, he was
not even that.
He's like wide open every time.
Not even that. When they played last time, that's when he went ballistic. He had his 11 for 270 and 3 touchdowns. So
that's the thing. So the Bengals, the thing, man, is they need to start strong. Hopefully the offensive line somehow plays
Yeah,
better.
I think the Titans
for
have a better
Burrow.
defensive front than the Chiefs, so we'll see. But
Yeah, but we'll see.
Unfortunately,
but I'm not going to bet against Mahomes and the Chiefs, so I got the Chiefs.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is like a written story that I've seen many times where a team like the Bengals, who has been hot all year, will get probably smoked by the Chiefs because they're a team that will then come out the next year or two and then prove, that it will have the experience and build stronger. So I've seen this so many times in the playoffs with different teams, so I'm already prepared to be disappointed for this game. So obviously I have the Chiefs winning here. But like I said, you guys are saying, who knows, if the Bengals can play like they did last game, if depending on how strong or the backfield for Kansas City is, I'm not saying they're Cincinnati's more rested than them,
no.
but coming off that game. So I don't know. I do see the Chiefs winning this game. It could be a blowout, could be a close game. Hopefully it's a close game. Just kind of continuing on from last weekend to this weekend, hopefully. But yeah, that's something I could see happening. So
Yeah, I think I don't know. I got the Bengals winning in my bracket, obviously, but
right.
I don't think I what's the over, like a 54?
54 and a half. Yeah, it's high.
I see it a high scoring game. But it also depends, I guess, on the defense.
Ryan, did you end up betting the over that Chiefs game?
No.
No.
The Chiefs Bills game? No.
Yeah.
But no, I think Bengals come out. I think they come out strong. They got momentum, taking out the 1 seed on the road. I think that they have enough momentum to carry this on. I like to see the Bengals here. I think it comes down to another field goal in the end, but I
Stick to your bracket, man. I like it. I like your sticking to
I'll
your
say
bracket.
this, regardless of what happens in this game, I'm interested to see the Bengals offseason. I think they should be aggressive, and I think they have a chance to kind of do what the Chiefs have done. How they've kind of made a mini dynasty. I think the Bengals that definitely have a potential to do that as well. So,
yeah, I mean, just to piggyback really quick, I see like the offensive line for the Bengals to really step up, and they also have the same amount of weapons on offense that the Bills do.
Yeah,
they had a little better running back. Obviously, the quarterback doesn't run as much, but wide receiver wise, Boyd, Chase, and who's the other one? Higgins or whatever.
yeah, Higgins.
These are two.
Yeah, I mean,
they got weapons
that's
for
tough
sure.
because either one of them, can have a big game.
Yeah,
and they got to cover all three.
What Ryan said, kind of like, it's almost like deja vu. Like if you look back to the Chiefs, right? They go in the AFC Championship. Mahomes' first year starting, like first full year, lose to Brady, right? In the AFC Championship. Bengals are kind of similar, right? Like if they were to lose here, you have Burrow. It's his first full year. No one saw you here. Get to the AFC Championship, so I think the Bengals are. Man, the AFC is loaded, like really loaded.
Yeah,
that means Burrow and the Bengals are gonna.
I would love to see that. Joey Burrow. I will say this: whoever wins this game is who I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl. That's what I'll say. I love Burrow. I love Chase. I love Mahomes. So,
I'm with you.
We'll go on to the next game, NFC Championship. So, the third matchup between these two teams. Niners won both in the regular season and have had. Kyle Shanahan has had Sean McVay's number. I think he's like 0-6 against him when Jimmy G starts or something like that. So, Niners visiting the Rams. The Rams have the potential to play a home Super Bowl, which is funny because before last year, it had never been done. Brady and the Bucs were the first team ever to play a home Super Bowl, and they won it. So it'd be hilarious if that doesn't happen in 50 years and then all of a sudden happens twice in a row. But
that's for sure.
This is a game where I feel like the Rams would be the easy choice, but because of the history of the two teams, it's not. Look, on paper, I'd be like, all right, Rams I think have the better pass rush, better secondary, better quarterback. maybe or better receivers, like in total. I know Debo is really good, but like in total, better receivers. Niners probably have better running backs. So like you see that on paper, it's like, okay, 4 for Rams, 1 for Niners, but it's awesome to see a divisional rivalry like this in the championships game. I think it's going to be a fist fight. I'm going to take the Rams to win this game. Very close. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. I think it's going to be like a 24-20, 23-20 type of game. But in the end of the day, I'm going to say Stafford gets it done and gets to his first ever Super Bowl.
I got the Rams too. I was thinking 49ers, but like I was thinking like what type of rosters they each have. I think the Rams, I'm just saying it's coming out to defense, like Anthony said. The Rams defense is better than San Fran's defense. I think the Rams Jimmy G is not going to be able to contain that defense, man. They're just going to be all over him. So, Rams, probably medium scoring game, not low scoring, but
medium.
One thing I will say
so
though,
basically what Anthony said.
One thing it seems that it doesn't matter who's on your defense that you can't stop is Debo, man. That if the Niners win, mark my words, it'll be because of him, because that guy's unbelievable. Like I've never seen. I'm not saying he's the best receiver in the league. I think he's maybe the best offensive weapon in the league. That guy's I've never seen anything like him. He's incredible. So
yeah, I think I think the Rams win this game just because Stafford and OBJ have more to play for. Not necessarily that other players don't and stuff, but it's been a long time coming for especially Stafford. And I just think overall they're a better team if they can play both halves. If they don't come out strong in the second half, then they're in trouble. But if they win the first half and continue to bring that momentum into the second, then they definitely win the game easily.
I'm leaning back between. I didn't bet this game yet, because I'm going back and forth here. But I'm gonna go with the 49ers here because I think they have a little bit more experience, as far as being in the situation. Obviously, it's all going to depend on Jimmy G and how he does against the Rams defense because I'm not worried about San Fran's defense. I think they're going to be fine. Like I said, it's going to be a very defensive game. But I can see the 49ers pulling it off. Ideally, it's going to be probably Rams Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But I'm going to go with my gut decision, and I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I think they got a great shot of winning. So
rematch. And
yeah, I agree with you. And here's one thing I'll say: a lot of people forget that this Niners team, like, they didn't really lose it last year. They were battered by injuries, but the year before that, they were in the Super Bowl. Like, they were a very dominant NFC team. And
same roster.
Yeah, basically. Pretty much the same roster. They don't have who's the guy in the Colts? DeForest Buckner. Is that who's on the Colts? Right?
Yeah.
He was on the Niners. He was on the Niners that Super Bowl year. And they do have Fred Warner now. You're right.
Niners, and then they have
and Debo. I mean, they had Debo before, but he wasn't as established. So yeah, I mean, people forget that this team, like, as much as it's a shock, like, they almost didn't even make the playoffs, and now they're here in the NFC Championship. But a lot of people forget they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I'm with Ryan on that.
They have a valid shot at winning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I just I think that the Rams have a little more to play for with Stafford and trying to get to his first Super Bowl and being at home. I mean,
I think very good points by everybody. So let's get into. I know we only have 2 games to choose from here, but so we might have some of the same. But let's get into our locks and call it a show and let Ryan get to bed. I'll start off. I'll continue riding the Chiefs. I'll go Chiefs -7. I know it's a lot of points, but like I said, I think this game has a possibility to get ugly, so I'm going to take Chiefs -7.
Go ahead. Whoever's next, I'm still looking.
I'm actually going to go the opposite. I was going Bengals +7 because I just think it would come down to a field goal in the end. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a close scoring game. I think Bengals do get out in front, but obviously, Mahomes' magic has a little little more left in him, and he'll make it close in the end. But I still think it comes down to a field goal. So I like Bengals +7.
Nick,
Can I say money line?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Chiefs money line because I'm just can't bet against Mahomes.
Okay.
He'll make it back to the Super Bowl. So Chiefs money line. Bengals will pull
How
up a fight.
depressing when he said that.
No, I'm internally excited for them.
All right, and then Ryan.
Ideally, I was beginning of this podcast, I was thinking about that, and I was gonna go with Bengals +7 as well. But I don't want to, I don't like having to copy someone else or having two of the same. So I'm gonna go with the 49ers here money line.
I like it.
Right.
Ryan's sticking with the.
I like the confidence, man.
I think the last.
They could.
Did we pick up? I think we picked upset money lines as our locks like the last 2 weeks, like before this.
Yeah,
obviously it's hard. It's harder now. So, just to recap, I got the Chiefs -7. Chad.
I got Bengals +7.
Nick.
Chiefs money line.
And then Ryan.
49ers money line.
All right. So those are our locks, and that should do it for us. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening.
We're staying active on our social media. All links are in the description down below. Please leave any feedback, likes, comments, subscribe if you haven't already.
Please share.
Notifications on.
Enjoy the weekend.
Appreciate all the love from last week's video.
Yeah, last week's episode we had our most views yet. So looking to continue to keep growing. And Nick, thanks for coming on. We'll see you in a few weeks again.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. But that'll do it for us. So appreciate you listening and enjoy your weekend. Later.